In the age of social media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pop culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pop culture and provide you with another perspective, one of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co host and I will discuss the pop culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to a special live edition of Let's Talk About It. Normally, well, the original idea that Kyle and I had was to record these shows and put them up later. But then then I decided with my with my
Brilliant.
constantly, like, wait, how about we do this instead?
What
I
about
decided to do
that?
these live because I figured that a lot of these topics will be a lot of these discussions, I should say, will be topical. So I felt that perhaps it would have been better. It would be better to do these live for the simple reason that a we can interact live with people who are watching with the chat. I think it'd be a good idea to get this hodgepodge of like opinions and ideas shared because I do want the show to be a very informative and also interactive show. So I thought, okay, let's just do this live. Screw it, and that includes is it worth the pickup? There will be a segment for is it worth the pickup, and the original idea was to do all comics, but I think for the time being, anyway, until maybe some things change, I was thinking, you know what? Let's do indie books for is worth the pickup during these live streams. So tonight, later tonight, we will be reviewing Tome of Reckoning by the writer and artist Dionysius. I know you. Maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I like the sound of
Dionysus.
that better. But Kyle, what was it? Well, how you
Dionysus?
pronounce it?
I say Dionysus, but I
Dionysus.
am not sure. We have to
Yeah, we'll
confirm
find
that with
out.
the creator.
The creator will join us as we review the book, so he will be here with us, and this is all part of the cultivating the culture. I felt that there wasn't much, I guess for lack of a better term, a lot of YouTube channels that review indie books. There's a lot of channels that review Marvel and DC books, which is great and all good because of course that's all part of it, right?
Right.
But oh,
Because that's
Kyle
the
got it.
major. That's the major
Kyle
thing.
got it. So I was wrong, and you were right, Kyle.
Hey.
And there's our guest for later tonight. He'll be joining us, and he'll be yeah, like as Ben said, in the hot seat of sorts. It's going to be respectful, totally respectful. But hey, we're readers. We all have opinions, right? But like I said, respectful. So as I was saying, oh, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
you're you're saying how we should keep it to indie creators on the
Yes.
live stream,
So
and
there's a
because
lot of,
Marvel and
like I said, DC
DC,
and Marvel reviews. I
I have to, I
I
have
decided,
to keep him in line with his old mind. He gets off track a
yeah,
little
because
bit.
I'm an old man. I'm an old man, Yeah, that's why I needed a
It's the
young
Alzheimer's.
whippersnapper, co-host to keep me in line. But yeah, I wanted to cultivate the culture because I felt like not many indie books get read and get reviewed. And so, how are we going to know we're any good if we don't review indie books? So I backed Tome of Reckoning because I liked the artwork. The artwork was interesting, not interesting to me. It popped for me. It worked for me. and I liked the premise, urban horror tale. So I was like, all right, I'm all about that. So I backed it, read it. We'll have our reviews in the second half of the show. But for now, we're going to talk about something that became a hot topic issue just this week. It started with an open letter from a an owner of a chain of comic book stores. I think the name of the it's Coliseum of Comics is the name of the comic book stores. Philip Boyle is the owner of these shops, and he wrote an open letter to the comic book companies, Marvel and DC, about the trending downfall of sales of comics. Now, that's been a trend for a while, and of course, there's various reasons for that, and depending on who you are. Oops, what's going on? I'm hearing an echo. Sorry, hold on. Oh, sorry, my phone was on. And I heard myself talking. I was like, wait, what? What the hell's going on? So as I
Again,
was saying,
it's the old timers. They don't
again,
understand
back in
technology.
my day, we had no phones. But anyways, he wrote an open letter to the Marvel and DC about this trend and how he's noticing a down sale trend of people not buying as many books as 10, 15 years ago. And of course, depending on who you are, where you stand, there's opinions vary. Some opinions are heavier than others because there's people who gave opinions work for the industry, and they they have weight to their opinion because they have firsthand experience with that. And of course, other opinions are outsiders looking in who speculate. I'm one of them. So Kyle and I decided to talk about this topic because Kyle is a comic book reader himself. He does not
Yeah.
write comics. He's just a reader. He's just a
I just read
collector.
them. I
Yeah.
just go to the comic book store and I look at what's on the wall and I see something that's cool and I pick it up. And like just like what we were talking about before we got on, I was sharing to him some of the books that I got this last week. And I saw there was a new Punisher book that came
Cool.
out. And I
Cool.
saw it. It looked cool. Wasn't, but whatever.
All right.
Then I picked up a good Punisher book. I picked up a Punisher versus Batman.
Oh, nice.
Can't wait
Well,
to
hold on.
read
Put that
that.
up. Put that up again. Put that up again. That deserves a close up. Oh, that's a good one, dude. John Romita. Yeah. And Chuck
Yeah.
Dixon.
I this was actually I got this because of one of our other live streams, I think it was. I was on a live stream and somebody recommended that I should get this book, so I did, and I'm gonna read
Nice.
it.
Nice.
And then I got because I had just read this the Superman number 775, which was the first appearance of the Elite.
Classic issue. One of my favorites.
I read that, blew me away, loved it, so I went and picked up the Elite book that came out.
Nice.
So I'm excited to go and read that as well. And that's pretty much it. But those are the main ones that I got that were interesting. But like I said, I just go and I just pick up books that are cool and then I'll read them and then see how they are. I'm not plugged into all the Twitter and I'm not
That's right.
all the fandoms and everything like that. I just want to read good books. And that's it.
So there you have it. A little back history of Kyle's. Let's say hi to the chat. Let's see who's with us right now before we get into it. Benjamin Soto, thank you for being with us tonight and listening to this stream. And of course, the guest of honor later tonight, Tome of Reckoning. Go ahead, Kyle. Nice. You say the name. You say it better than you say it right. So go ahead.
Dionysus.
Thanks for being here with us. I think that's it. I think that's all I see here so far. But okay, thanks for joining us. We will get to the topic at hand here because the show is called "Let's Talk About It." And so, so what happens? A little bit of context for those of you who haven't been paying attention. So Philip Boyle, the owner of a comic shop called Coliseum of Comics, like I said, wrote an open letter, and he
are these shops that are East Coast, West Coast, all over?
I think it's East Coast. I think he's in the Florida South, that southern section there, I believe. I'm not entirely sure exactly,
Okay.
but yeah, he wrote. I'm not going to read the entire letter, but he pretty much sums up, um, the happenings that have been going on, the trends that have kind of damaged, um, the I guess the readership falling by the wayside. And of course, there's all these certain topics like manga. Manga is outselling American comics here in the U.S., which is cool, but it's kind of all at the same time. In my opinion, by the way, it's a little embarrassing that they're
Yeah.
outselling American comics because I know I've read manga in the past. I like manga, and manga is the manga writers and creators take their craft seriously. They're serious about their craft, and that's why manga always thrives because the people who get into it take their storytelling techniques very serious, and they always want to thrive to be the best. And American writers currently, there's with a few exceptions, are not doing this. They're not giving their all. I feel, from the little that I've read, from what Kyle has handed over to me to read. And so I want to just go by the bullet points of what he wrote here because I thought they were interesting as to what he thinks would change the trend. But before we do that again, Kyle, do you have thoughts about this? I mean, do you when you go to the comic shop on Wednesdays? Because by the way, guys, he goes every Wednesday. He it never fails. He goes every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Do you see? Because we're from Southern California, when you go to the shops, is it busy? Is it packed? Is it like sparingly? Like what do you see when you go to the shops every Wednesday, or
So
or
that's
for
what
that matter, any other day during the week?
yeah, so that's what I do every time I go there. I always ask the store owners or whoever's working there, how has it been today? Has there been a lot of people? And most of the time they say that it gets busy for about the hour that they open for the
Mm,
people to come in and grab their stuff, and then it kind of dies off. There are
mm,
exceptions to times where there was like a week or two ago where just they said that it was like all day, nonstop, always packed. And when I went there, it was packed as well. Um, so in terms of, but most of the time when I go there at night, there's only usually about a handful of people in there. So I can usually just, shoot the breeze with the people there, or you basically have the whole store to myself and look at whatever I want. It's never really at the point where I am like trying to sneak past people to get to stuff.
mm.
Um,
Okay, wow.
and in terms of like the manga, I never really go near that section. I'm not really huge into manga or manga. See that where Dionysus is for you, manga is for me.
Well,
um,
manga. I guess
Manga.
manga is the proper
Is it
pronunciation of the
manga?
word.
Because I heard people say manga, or is it
I,
manga?
you know, I guess it depends.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
manga,
All right.
just because. All
Okay.
right, so
Okay.
manga. There's I'm not really into it. I've never really read any of it. It seems that like a lot of the times there are people that are into it, but I'm just not one of like I'm like Samuel Jackson. He talks about it all the time. But
Ah.
um uh anyway, most of the time when I'm at the comic book shops, it's usually never that busy. It's and then the other comic book shop that I go to a couple. One that just sells back issue books. He only has people that come in that are like know his shop and know how he operates and like usually are there just to fill collections and they buy,
Mm,
stuff all the time from him because they're
right.
just repeat customers. He doesn't really get many new guys that come in. And then there's a new really small comic book shop that's like right next to me, and I feel bad for them because they're really nice people and they're really great. But usually their shop's pretty empty all the time. And
Mm.
so and it's sad too because the guy is a really nice guy. He's trying all these different things to bring in people and I can tell he's trying, but it just seems like it's not connecting with people, which is kind of sad.
That is kind of sad because when I collected years and years ago, same thing with you. After work, I go to the shop to get my books, and it would be packed. Like it would literally like, excuse me, like every second, excuse me, sorry, excuse me, squeezing through the small little crowd there, perusing the wall, checking out the new books and talking and those were great times. Those were when you could tell there was a lot of buzz going around, a lot of books, and it got to the point where it was so many good books. It was kind of it was a little sad that you couldn't afford to get all the books that everyone was raving about. And now it feels like they're, I mean, you can count them in one hand, like only one or two like hot like buzz books, right? Like right now, currently, I think Big Game is currently the book currently that's kind of getting people hyped up, and there's buzz around that book, but that's about it,
Right.
and consistently
Well,
too. Every month, the buzz is still going strong, and there's a lot of one issue buzz, like, oh, the first issue, great, and then after that, it dies off. No one talks about
yeah.
issue 2, 3, or 4, or 5 anymore.
Well, and I think another point to make as well is that there are, a few books that most people come and want to get, like Transformers and stuff like that
Right.
that are
Yeah.
coming out. But I think one thing that at least is turning me off right now is price point, which is something that it goes into in
Boom.
the article,
Yep.
because there's a lot of books that I would give a try. However, they're like $5, $6.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm
Hmm.
like, do I really want to go and spend $5 on a chance that this book is good? Or
Right.
I can go to a back issue book for $2 that I know is good.
Right. Yeah. That isn't that crazy? That's nuts, man. That's kind of sad in a lot of ways, like you said, and so let's be, as before we lose ourselves, let's go down. Let's go down the points here. So, um, he says here, according to Philip Boyle, um, Marvel and DC have strip mined the comic industry for the better part of a decade, putting no money into the market that sustained them for years. Much like the condo association, an investment is needed by those who lived off the equity for years. Woof, huge. Right there, that line. If you want to market in 2 years, yes, 2 years tops. That's his prediction. That the
Hmm,
the direct market will has 2 years left before it completely dies out. I mean, you can't. You got always got to take predictions with a grain of salt because you really can't tell the future. You don't know when trends change and shift.
right.
Then the time to invest is now. What we need to revitalize this market. And he gives, I think it's about 8 points here. So the first one, $3.99 comics. He would say
Mm,
$3, but we have increased rents, labor, and insurance costs to cover. So $3.99. $4.99 is more of a non-starter with too many fans. So lowering the price to $3.99 per issue. I think that could be a good start, depending
right.
on what Marvel and DC wants them to sell it for. Or I really don't know the logistics or cost behind that, but I think that'll be a good start. Like you just mentioned just now about you really want to spend $6 on a book that might be good.
Right.
You know, I
That
think
just
four
and that
dollars.
not only might be good, but as the Tomb of Reckoning says in the chat, we'll have lots of ads in it.
Yes, ads. Oh my god, the ads are ridiculous. Like even for me, I can't deal with it. Number two, fewer covers. I know this will get some pushback from every corner, but without a focus, it's all about the value of the covers and not what's between them. Ooh, that's a good point right there. Yeah. I understand collector's item. I understand
Yeah,
having collector's items. It's fun. It's great. But the fun for me was hunting for those special covers. Now they're
right,
kind of readily available, and a lot of retailers unfortunately just hijack the price and put it on their wall and go, okay, here it is, buy it for the price, and it's nuts. But while you're at it, give us a hook to sell, not just another convention commission piece with no indication of what's inside the comic it covers. Yeah,
yeah.
I would have to agree with that one for sure. Number three, editors who are editors. Oh, this is my point of like
Yeah,
Yeah,
we talk about this a lot.
we do talk about this a lot. Too many stories are lackluster and agenda driven. Too many covers are con sketch drivel with no sales point, and too much interior art is amateurish. It's clear neither Marvel nor DC has a publishing plan beyond the current reboot. Ouch. That's all I have to say. Ouch. Yeah, but he's right on this one. I have from the little comic books that you've sent me, that you sent over to me, Kyle, to read. That's what I've noticed. I've noticed a lot of editors today, for whatever reason, don't push the writer to be the best they can be. And that's what a good editor does. A good
Right.
editor is able to push both the writer and artist to provide the best work possible for the story they're producing. That's my approach. I'm currently the editor of the Kryptonals, and that's what I always do when I work with Ray Ramos, Happy Harry Art on from 656 Comics. The art's already done, so I came in when the art was done, so I have no say on that. But when it came to the writing, when I came on, there was a few things, a few problems because I was originally the proofreader for that book, and when I read it, there was a lot of problems, and I had to tell him, hey, look, man, you can't release this book. You need to work on it more before you give this to readers because you're gonna turn off the readers, and
That's hard
so
to say to people.
it is, and I took a big risk. I took a big risk of destroying a flourishing friendship at that point. But thankfully, Ray was humble enough, and I'm forever grateful for that. That he was able to be a big enough man to say, you know what, okay, what's the problem? Let me know. And so we had a one-on-one meeting with him and Oliver Ollie, the book designer, and we went page to page, and going, okay, here's the problem with this. It doesn't connect with that, and so on and so forth. And then we finally got to a point where it was very cohesive and very tight. That's what you want in a plot, very tight.
Hmm.
And so, grateful for that. But yeah, that number three is a great, very like ouch. I would have been like, ooh, ouch. Number four, the characters are iconic for a reason. The movies never got traction until they leaned into what made the characters decades long successes. Change is good for story, but inevitably, you need to touch base with what brought them. True. Gender
Yep.
swaps, sexual orientation changes, and outright changes to who's in the suit are short term headline grabbers, but without long term sales, with very few exceptions.
And that's what we talked about
Yeah,
in one of our videos, where we discussed how we got into comics. And
right,
what turned me off in comics and starting earlier was because when the movies were going big, I was never pushed to go into comics by the
right.
movies or anything
Yeah.
like that. And then when I actually did go into a new comic book store, when I see what's on the wall, it wasn't,
Mm,
Thor. It
right.
wasn't Tony Stark Iron Man. It was Riri Williams. It was Jane Foster. It was all these other characters that were not the ones that were in the movie. So I wasn't able to connect with them.
Uh,
And
did you
then,
even let me ask you this? Since you were a new reader at the time, did you pick them up and check them out at least to see what the
I didn't care to.
mm,
I
okay.
just didn't care to. I just I knew the characters of the main characters,
Right.
of Tony Stark Iron Man and Steve Rogers Captain America. I don't really know who Jane Foster Thor was. Like I knew Jane Foster
Right.
from, the movie as Thor's girlfriend, but I didn't know that she became Thor. And then at that point, if I were to go pick it up, I'd have to like learn the whole backstory of why she became Thor and why Thor wasn't Thor anymore. So it was like I'd have to like, do all this homework to find out why the character that is on the screen isn't on the screen anymore or aren't in the
I
book.
see. Gotcha. Well, I don't have a dog in that fight because I stopped reading mainstream comics about 7, 8 years ago. So I really, at that point, didn't care. Um, I was watching the movies. I was a fan of the movies, but I was knee deep in indie books at that point. So yeah, I have, like I said, I don't have a say on that. But it sounds to me that was a major problem for a lot of new readers who, like you, Kyle, wanted to read more adventures of Steve Rogers and Thor and and Iron Man and what have you. And when they got there, it was like, oh, I guess they're not here anymore. They're someone else, and they probably maybe some of them got into it. I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe some were like, oh, screw it, okay, I'll still pick it up. I mean, maybe some of them were like, no, I'm out of here. I'm
Right.
not gonna buy this.
It's
So, okay, I mean
what Dionysus was
that's
saying. It was just no synergy at all.
right. Oh, that's right. No synergy. That's a good point.
Yeah,
Dionysius.
Dionysus.
Dionysus. I know. I'm just messing around. Number
Manga.
5, telling stories without. How do you pronounce that? I don't know how to pronounce that.
uh, Proselytizing.
Thank you. I'll let you say
Proselytizing.
that. I beat this drum for a decade and more, but here we are, chasing away a large portion of our customer base with every new tale as they want entertainment, not a serialized sermon. Ah, I see. I see. Yeah, that's you know, there's an old Eastern proverb that states, "I love chocolate, but if you shove it down my throat, I'm gonna spit it out."
Mm.
And I think nobody likes to be forced. No one likes to be forced upon things. Like no one likes things to be forced upon them. That's what I was trying to say.
Man, it took you a long time to say
It took
that.
me again. I'm an old man. It's Friday. It's a long week.
Yeah.
so, so there's that. So yeah, I could see how this would turn people off, preaching at them as opposed to telling them a good story with um the message you want in the background, in the subtext, which is a skill set in all in itself when you write stories. If you want to, raise awareness about a topic or an issue that holds near and dear to you, I personally don't have a problem with it at all. I'm all for it. But if you sacrifice the story for it, then then you're getting preached at, and it's like, well, if I want to get preached at, I'll go to church on Sunday.
Mm.
That's my time and place for it. But if I
Right.
want to buy a comic book and kind of lose myself, I want to lose myself to a damn compelling story.
Yeah.
That's just me though.
But like you
And
said, stories can have those messages in it,
yeah,
but not in your face shoved in there like look at it, look at it, look at
yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. Um, Number 6, limited new characters. Fresh blood is good, but it's become obvious that characters aren't organic, so stories, they're shoehorned in for a bump in sales. Dance with who brung you, as the saying goes. Yeah, I could see that. Number 7, I'd ask for a minimum advertised price, but we're not in that world anymore. You made deals with the devil, which is also on you. Minimum advertised price. Oh, well, is that an addition to number 1? Is that what he's I don't understand that one.
I think it's probably going with like the value of your money, I guess.
Ah, I see.
I'd say like minimum advertised price of like $5. You should be at least getting a book that's worth five
That's worth the
dollars.
$5 you're spending. Right. As opposed to, like you said, 22 pages of story and 20 pages of ad pages. Right.
Yeah.
That's $5 for that. $6 for that. Come on. Tome of Reckoning says there's a way not to beat people over the head with your point, but a lot of those modern writers seem to be activists first and writers second. That's what I've been
Right.
noticing as well. Which is, again, it's fine. It's fine. One of my favorite books is Cal Exit, by I think Black Mask Studios. I want to say is that prints the book. One of my favorite books. It's very in your face activist, but the story is so good though. It's about the fall of the California Republic and how California is split up into 4 different sections, and the groups
Hmm.
are all warring with one another. I think it's personally, I think it's a brilliant premise, and I love that book. It's one of my favorites. Um, but
When was it written?
I think it was in the 2000. I want to say 2018 or 2017.
Oh, so
Um,
fairly recent.
yeah, well, maybe a little sooner than that. I can't remember because they wrote. The writer wrote, I think, 2 issues, and after that, it fell off. I don't know what happened. Maybe sales weren't doing well, whatever. But I personally dug it. It's one of my favorites.
Hmm.
If you guys haven't seen it or heard of it, it might be up your alley. I'm not sure, but it's one of my favorites, and it's in your face, but the writer does not sacrifice the story. So that's why I like that book currently. So number 8, the last one. Here's the big one. Discount and shipping. Marvel and DC screwed this market. So if you want to continue to have people dumb enough to labor 60 hours a week for poverty wages to sell and advocate for your precious IPs, you need to invest in that market. You strip mine, that word again, though it applies so precisely, all the cash out of the direct market, and retailers are bleeding from the bone. We need your investment or this market goes away. No, you can't just sell online as the minimum production cost won't be met with online only. Investment means putting books on stands at a cost to you, not the people with the highest per issue cost.
Wow.
So there you have it. The 8 points. Oof, man.
I mean, he lays it out right there.
Yeah, he does. He does. I'm not a retailer. I've never spoken to a retailer in detail as to how much it costs them to get books. But if this guy who has I think it was 5 or 6 stores, that tells me that he started with one, and business was so good he was able to afford to open 6 different locations. So this guy knows what he's talking
You
about.
don't just start off by saying you're not just starting off with 6 comic book
Yeah,
stores.
exactly. So this guy has weight to his concerns. Now, whether or not it's going to take 2 years for it to go away completely, I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure because, like I said, I'm not a retailer. I don't know. I'm an outsider looking in, speculating. But if this guy is pretty much the canary in the mine, I would say we should probably heed the call and kind of and Marvel and DC need to look into this further and say okay, because what I do know is the books that people buy on the shelves every Wednesday, that money is not going to Marvel or DC. They already got their money from the retailers because they bought those books at wholesale price. So that money is going to the store. So they feel the pinch when people don't buy the books that for the most part people go to buy Marvel and DC. Like
Right.
for me, I discovered indie books because of Marvel and DC. Because I went there in the beginning to buy Marvel and DC books, and then after a while when I started getting a little tired of the superhero stuff and I wanted to uh I guess try something new and different, I would look for image books. I would look for small publishing books that looked interesting to me. And through that bridge, it's true. Marvel and DC do take up the most of the market share. They've always have because they're the big guns in the game.
Right. They
And
have the most IPs, the most recognizable
yep,
characters.
yep,
I mean, obviously, the characters that have been around the longest, so they have as much pull as they can. Um, it's just the point now that nobody cares about those characters, or
yeah,
at least not to the
yeah,
extent that they used to.
absolutely. And yeah, it's kind of sad actually. Now that I read this, it's kind of like, whoa, damn. That's it's serious. It sounds like it's serious. And I don't, I personally don't want the shops to go away. I don't want the
I
direct market
don't.
to go away.
I'm just now getting into it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I, I've had some, I mean, it's not like, I mean, you've got, some skin in the game because obviously, because, you're creating comic books and stuff like that. But I, who's just now starting, I've got a whole bunch of comic books here, and I have my comic books, I can read them, but there's always great stories that are out there. I know there are great writers that are currently working.
Right,
It's
right.
just sort of sifting through all of it to find the diamonds in the rough almost.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Kyle? What do you think do you think this holds weight? Do you think in 2 years it'll go away if the trend doesn't change?
Like the whole comic book industry go away?
Not the industry, the direct market. That's what's at risk here is the direct market. Because back in the old times, comic books were sold in
Dinosaur times?
yeah, comic books were sold in magazine stands
Right.
and convenience stores And then eventually, when the supermarket came around, supermarkets, they would be there at the spinner racks. Kids would, of course, pull, tug at their parents. I want this, 10 cents, 10-cent comics, 20-cent comics. And then I think around I want to say the 60s or 70s, more and more of these, magazine stands, they stopped wanting to carry it. And that's when the direct market was kind of invented, where um, brick and mortar actual shops that sold comics started popping
Yeah.
up, and distribution companies started popping up, and then that's what became known as the direct market. So there is no national chain like Barnes and Noble, that specifically sells comic books. It's all decentralized. It's one of the only decentralized industries in America where
Right.
there's no chain, there's no national chain distribution. There's only comic shops locally in every state and every city, depending on where you're at. And
Hmm.
so that's what's at stake here, apparently, is that because, like I said, it's the retailers who take the risk by buying the books wholesale and then selling it to you and me.
Right.
And whatever we spend in that store on that Wednesday or whatever day you decide to go to the comic shop, that money goes to the pocket of the retailer. So what do you think now that you have that context? You think this is legit? Like, do you think there might be a downfall? The chat, what do you guys think? People who are watching now, do you think the trend can turn around? You think indie comic creators can help a little bit? I mean, there's all these avenues
A
of like
lot of
what
those
ifs.
indie, a lot of these indie creators though feel like they've been jaded in uh, in the mainstream comic books, and that they don't want to work for them again unless things really change. So maybe a lot of them are kind of holding out, waiting to see where the cookie crumbles,
Mm,
and then try to pick up the pieces afterwards. Um, because as you mentioned, just like the market is there. It's whether or not people actually will go and buy the books.
hmm. Dionysus says, I don't think it will end. I think it will turn around. I'm an optimistic too. I'm an optimist myself. So I remember back in the when I first started collecting, Marvel Comics was about to go bankrupt at one point when I started collecting. There were rumors that DC was going to buy them. There were rumors that
Really,
all these I forgot what other company was going to buy them out, and they were in trouble. They were in real trouble. And what turned it around was Joe Quesada. Joe Quesada was he was an artist for Daredevil. Kevin Smith wrote a Daredevil run for the Marvel Knights imprint that they created,
the
and the book,
actor Kevin Smith.
yeah, the director, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
and he that was a big get. That was kind of like the first time a big time Hollywood director actually, came down from Mount Olympus of Hollywood and, lowered himself to write a comic book. But the book sold like hotcakes. It revitalized the Daredevil character because Daredevil was doing the yellow and gray costume that I guess they're doing it again. I don't know
Right.
why. And he
Well,
he
now
brought
that
it back.
they went really crazy with Daredevil.
They sure
Like
did.
he
And
like went to hell and he's like
yeah,
fighting demons and stuff
it's
like
like
that.
I have no idea what the deal is with that, but apparently they brought him back to form, and then it just flourished from there. And it became and within a few years they became like a Fortune 500 company because of that small change. And it could happen again. I feel that that could be a thing. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that's um hopefully it changes? Let's see what Ben says. Ben says, I think the direct market is on a nosedive. I don't think indie creators can help because the shops don't really care about it, which that's true. They don't.
Yeah.
And definitely the big two don't care about the shops. That's what it's starting to look like. Um, because
Nobody cares
Marvel
about
and
each other.
DC, yeah, Marvel and DC don't need the shops anymore because they have Disney and Warner Brothers bankrolling them.
Yeah.
It's like almost guaranteed money. And it's kind of sad when you think about that. If that's true, I again, I don't know. I'm not in those meetings, so I'm just speculating. But the fact that they haven't changed the course the fact that shops are suffering currently, and they have been for the past, I guess apparently to Mr. Boyle, um, 10 years now. It kind of indicates that, yeah, maybe they don't care because, again, they have a big corporate entity who just writes checks and goes, okay, here's your budget for the year, make it happen, make me IP that I can make into a show, a Disney Plus show or a movie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I see when I read these books currently. But speaking of indie, it's that time, Kyle.
Oh, it is that time.
It's that time.
All right.
So if you guys watch the replay, let us know in the comments, what you guys think. And if you guys want to hear us more talk about this subject, hey, let us know and we'll make another live stream and we'll continue on talking about topic. But I think for now it's time to yes, it's time to change gears and talk about whether or not a book is worth the pickup. We want to talk about, buying comics. So
Yeah.
now it's time for, is it worth the pickup?
Ooh.
Whoops. There you go. There was no sound, was there?
No.
Damn it.
We tested this.
We did. I messed it up. See, this is what happens when you go live. This is what happens
Old
when you
man
go
in you, man.
live. Things can happen that you plan out and they don't work out. So today we're doing a special edition of Is It Worth the Pickup? We're reviewing a comic book called Tome of Reckoning by Dionysius.
Dionysus.
Thank you. See, I just can't, like with you in manga, I can't do it. Manga. But I backed this project because the writer and artist, I liked his artwork. I thought it was cool, and I was curious about the premise. The premise seemed very interesting to me. I'm a big fan of horror, and I'm a big fan of urban fantasy horror. So I grew up, I guess, in the urban or whatever, or the ghetto. So this kind of, I was like, okay, this is cool, and I also like the artwork. The artwork was a cool style, and I backed it. And as we were going to start this show, this series, Kyle and I talked about what books we review, and then it dawned on me, well, we should review indie books as well because I feel like they don't get enough love, and maybe it's because my own personal opinion is probably because a lot of readers back these books and they read them and they don't like them, or they might not think it's good, and so to save hurting the feelings of the creators they like and support, they probably don't say nothing, because the question is, okay, well, if you're so loud about reviewing a comic from DC and Marvel, why not a indie book? What's the difference? We're in the same industry. We want to provide the same entertainment, so you got to hold us to the same accountability as the big two would, because there's money gets invested, time gets invested. You want to get serious about it. You want as many readers as possible. So I figured, well, hey, why not? Let's do indie books. And so Tome of Reckoning is a book that I backed, and I handed over to Kyle to read. And
I'll do my review as if I had bought the book.
Yes.
I just because he gave it to me to review did not mean that I changed anything that I did in my review. I just didn't have access to it at the time because we were just now starting to get into it.
Right.
So I treated it as if I had paid for it, just so that you know.
So a quick review. I read the book, and so did Kyle. So I'll also give my review. I'll be coming from a perspective of the writer and editor. Kyle would be coming from a perspective of the reader, consumer.
Yeah.
And so
fresh eyes.
And so Kyle, if you want to get started, go ahead and get started. Hey, Oli, what's up, Oli? Glad you could join us. I hope you caught that first half because it was a doozy.
Okay, so first off, I want to give off a huge thanks for the creator for having us to review his book. I have tremendous respect for anybody who comes on, wants to talk about what they love, and I appreciate every single comic creator, whether good or bad, because we know it is an intensive process to
Yeah.
make a comic book. It's challenging creating characters, and so once again, thank you very much. In terms of this book, as a generic comic book reader, I want to say that it, to me, was a mixed bag. Um, I wanted to approach this as, tactfully as I can. Um, there was scenes and story elements and art in this book that I really enjoyed. I thought it was great. And then at times also there were some panels slash, dialogue or some plot beats that confused me, or just didn't look too great, as just somebody who was just reading it. And we'll go into that as well. But overall, I'd say my general thoughts on the book is it was pretty good. I'd say a lot of things in this book will get, I assume, answered slash built upon in the next book. So a lot of questions and stuff that and concerns I had in this book, just as a standalone, did not necessarily flow as well for me. Um,
Okay. Like, well, do you have any examples? Examples of that?
so I'd say one of the biggest problems, I guess I'd say, not really problem, but inquiries that I had with this book was I didn't know what the theme of the book was. It
Okay.
seems like there was a lot. There was that, like I'll say, there was a lot of scenes and story elements that could have worked as its own book, but they were kind of all together and one as one, and no real through line through it all, at least in my perspective. And we'll have the creator on, or he'll comment in the chat, um, some of their answers to what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I sent him the invite, so he could join us after the review, or if he wants now, it's up to him. But keep going, keep going.
Okay, well, anyway, so like I'm saying, if I were to try to give an elevator pitch for this
Hmm.
book, I wouldn't really know what to say. I know that there's a character who can turn into a sort of monster werewolf-ish character. And then there's also a girl that can speak to like dead people,
Right.
and there's government guys that are after them, and some other mystical stuff that's happening. And local PD is kind of in through all of it. I don't necessarily know how all of those things tie together. Now, again, this could also be addressed in the next issue, but as compared to, say, um, with Julius and the Ghetto Dragon, if I just had a few sentences to sum up that book, I'd say it was about a guy who knows karate, who's an expert on karate or taekwondo and martial arts, who got mixed up with some bad gangs and is trying to protect his friends and family while in his city or area. I don't really know what the through line for this book is. So that was like a major thing that I noticed, and like I said, it could be picked up later. Some minor things, was that there were a few panels that, especially with facial expressions, did not seem to come across very well. Like this panel right here, where
This one.
the local PD is examining a dead body. The chief of police right there, where Julius's cursor is, at least in my eyes, looked like he's smiling. And it did not look like he was like concerned that this was like a dead body or something like that. Julius, when we were discussing it today, said that I was wrong and that that's not actually what the expression is.
Yeah.
But at least in my eyes, that's what it came across as. There were other scenes as we'll go along and other panels that I did not understand. This instance right here as well was sort of like a minor issue with also with the facial expressions, where this character, we were led to believe that she can see these dead people slash ghosts, but I don't know whether or not she's like accustomed to it, like she knows what's happening. Is she scared that these people are here? Because in other scenes, it shows her like scared that they're there,
Right.
but in this scene here, she seems sort of relaxed or calm or about it. Again, that was just a sort of a minor issue that I had. Um, Again, also with that as well, going with that character, there were I think her name was only mentioned like once throughout the entire book, and it kind of goes along with some of the other main characters. I had to go back and try to find what their names were. So sorry if I don't refer to them as their names. I believe this guy was name was Murray or Murphy or something.
I think it was
Uh
Murphy. Murphy.
Murphy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So um again this scene here, I get that this is probably a setup for something later, which is fine. I just didn't necessarily see the connections, and I think that was what uh my one of my main problems with it was. um let's see what else.
Dionysius is here. So
Dionysus.
would you like me to have him on now, or you want to finish your review first, Kyle?
Basically, I mean, I can go. We it depends on whether or not we want to go through all like the nitpicks and stuff that I have. Like there are some scenes where
Well, yeah. If
it
you have
just
questions for him, then you can definitely ask him to him. I
yeah,
real quick before I leave, I have him on. I personally liked it. There's a lot of potential here. I well, I'll start with the I guess the what didn't work for me. The intro, the first 3 pages were good, but they kind of let me just go back here. They I felt like they could have been placed somewhere else in the story because I found it more intriguing with the beginning of this here.
right.
This section, this from the beginning here was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is
That
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to find out who this guy is, and want to know more about it. And then maybe it could have cut to the government, the mysterious government character, and
and
then introduce the girl and all that.
that's another thing
Um,
too is I don't know who the main character was in the story.
oh, that's right. You did mention that. I took it as the event.
The event
The event is the
is
character for me. but
okay.
uh,
It's a
um, but
stylistic choice.
but overall, like I love the sequential work here. The sequential work
Yeah,
was great. Is great. Um, I
yeah. That
just
scene right there, where you're just scrolling, where he's
yeah, this
like
right here.
running away
Yeah,
from the thing. That was good. I like that.
yeah, it was great. And now it's like, okay, cool. And then it cuts to this where you see that she's obviously taking meds for her whatever problems that she may have. And then she sees this. Now I'm like, well, okay, all right, what's going on here? I'm curious to know. And then it goes on. And yeah, like I said, overall it was good. There were some little tidbits of thing that I didn't quite grasp yet, but again, it was because of okay, he might answer that in the second issue, so
Right.
I'm gonna just put it in my back pocket, make a note of it, and then keep on reading. But let's have him on now since he's here. I don't want to keep him waiting. So
Okay.
welcome to the show,
How's it
Dionysius.
going, man?
Good man, how you doing? How you doing?
Good. How
Good.
are
Thanks for
you?
coming.
Good.
Thanks for
Good.
coming on here
Thanks for having me,
be on
dude.
the show. And
We
having us
really
talk about your
appreciate
book.
it.
No, 100%. And dude, and don't hold back. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what you want to hear, you know? So there is questions I could answer, and the internet's been going out a little bit, so I've been missing stuff. But
Okay.
the things I've heard are totally valid, you know? The beginning with the the military guys
Yes.
was sort of set up as a ruse. You know what I mean? Just a short ruse to be like, oh, are these the good guys? They're after somebody, you know?
I see. Okay.
And
Right.
we're after two guys. Well, is it two guys in the car? You know what I mean? Like, is it these two
Okay.
guys that we're actually searching for? I might not have set it up that well, but it was, you know, essentially where he alludes to, we got to find these two guys. So then it cuts to two guys driving on the road. You're like, oh, yeah, who the hell is this?
Okay.
But, you know, look, if it didn't land, then that's something I got to work on. So I just want to say the way this book was initially set up was to be like a graphic novel. You know what I mean? But you guys know, and especially, you know, putting out your own book and working, it's like, where do I find the effing time? You know what I mean? To actually put it on.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, I'm 4 issues in, 2 issues are totally done. And the way I usually run this story, which is probably best in a collected volume, is 2 chapters.
Yeah.
Like the first chapter starts it, the second chapter ends whatever resolution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it might make more sense, but I would love to hear your ideas when I have the second issue out. I'll just shoot it your way as soon as
Sure.
I get the PDF up. But no, dude, I'm loving what you guys are saying. It's giving me fuel to actually fix whatever is coming up in the books later on. You know what I mean? So
Cool.
before I
Cool.
go to print,
That's good to
so-
hear.
No,
That's
hell
good to
yeah,
hear.
dude, 100%.
So I gotta
What do
ask
you
you.
wanna hear?
I gotta ask you. Is this your first book or
First book, yeah. And,
okay?
and
How long have you been drawing?
so here's the thing: I've been drawing since I was a kid. I mean,
Okay.
young, but I've taken like a decade off at a time.
Okay.
I've taken 10 years off at one time, and then like years and years, you know, in between that as well. When I was working on this first issue, I didn't realize I had eye problems. And it's funny, I have one pair of glasses on right now, but I draw now. I actually use 2 pairs of glasses. Don't ask.
Okay.
But so I used to be really good with like detailed shit and all this stuff. When I was drawing this book, I thought I was just not into drawing anymore, you know? But it turns out I had a really bad stigmatism. I had shitty eyes, and I was pretty much drawing semi-blind. Like inking
Oh,
was
no
like,
way.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Holy
Mhm.
crap, dude.
Like if you look at,
that's impressive though. I'll
Thank
just
you.
say.
I appreciate it. There's some rough stuff to this one, but I changed only a couple of things before going to print, because I still wanted to keep the idea that, you know, I've progressed in my artwork since this book. If you look at my newer stuff, it's pretty tight. I look like an idiot doing it, but it's tight. It's been wearing like 2 pairs of glasses. It's insane. The inking was the worst. The drawing wasn't so bad, but inking your own stuff, which was something I had to do just because of monetary reasons. You know, you try to find an inker, like everything, dude. Like, you know, coloring was like a pain in the ass. But then my fiance actually ended up coloring the book. She did a great job. And I can't afford her anymore. So she's taught me how to use Photoshop. So in the second issue, it's me drawing or coloring. But yeah, it was definitely hard drawing that first and second issue. But
well, damn, now I have a much more deeper appreciation than for
right, yeah,
for the art, because
because
I did what really impressed me the most was the sequentials. You have a great sequential eye. You know, your beats and everything, your angles, the changes of every panel, some of the facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, this guy has the fundamentals for sure. But go ahead, Kyle, if you have any more questions for Mr. Dionysius.
Yeah, please hit me up, dude.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say, like you were mentioning, there are really great detailed scenes, but there are times too where it got a little wonky, and I'm not gonna lie.
No, yeah, by all means.
I laughed a little bit at some
show me which one. I would love this.
Towards the end, yeah, Julius knows which one I'm talking about. The sword guy.
That's
right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's light. That's bad eyes. That's all that is, dude. Yeah, 100%. Like,
and again, still impressive though. Now that I know that.
Oh, I'm going out. That's out. Oh, son of a bitch.
Oh, did we lose you? I think we lost him.
Oh.
Well, let's just keep. Oh, there you go. There you are. There you are. You're back. You're back.
And while we're here too, there was.
Oh, my back, sweet, dude.
You're back. You're good.
You pay $100 for internet for what, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Seriously,
it's crazy, dude.
While we're here though, this was another scene that I had. That was kind of like there were some scenes where they could have been redundant or taken
Mhm.
out, at
Mhm.
least in my eyes, or they could have flowed a little bit better. In this
Oh,
scene here, where the guy is shooting the police officer and the police officer shooting back, it shows him shooting first, and then the police officer shoots, and then it cuts back to the guy shooting, and then he gets hit.
Kyle, I'm
My
sorry,
personal
I missed
opinion.
it.
Okay,
Sorry, dude, the
in
internet
my
went out, dude. I
personal
apologize.
opinion,
Mhm.
in my personal opinion, this shot right here with the guy returning fire could have been
Mhm.
taken out, and it just go from the shotgun guy to the shotgun blast, because
Now,
then it looks like the other guy's incompetent and can't hit him, even though he's like the trained warrior.
was this an
I could.
indication that they shot at the same time?
Yes. Yeah.
Ah, okay, okay,
Okay.
yeah. Having the second panel like that, it makes it look like he shot first and then he shot
Mhm.
after. So maybe it could have been. I mean, again, coming from the editorial angle, maybe the
I think a quick fix might be a diagonal.
yeah,
So
diagonal
his
Yeah.
line,
arm is coming out. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
probably
100%.
would have worked here.
I think so, because what you're seeing then is if I do an angle, then his arm is actually coming into his panel, showing that it's happening at the same time, as opposed to
Yeah.
just the top of the head is not enough of an indicator. It's great. That's a great idea. I'm coming to you guys next. I'm drawing some panels out.
And then go back up to where the motel was.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was the one where I was like, oh yeah, this could have been cut out and it still would have worked either way. When you decided to keep. So let's see here. Come on.
Yeah, because it was right after
Right here.
Murphy
This right.
what left, and the PD was there
Mhm.
exploring the motel, and it shows one of the police officer guys interviewing the attendant guy or
Mhm.
the landlord guy. All that dialogue and all that was then summed up again in
Right here.
this panel here.
Totally.
So
There is a
what?
callback later to the
Well,
conversation between these guys.
it was
Yeah.
it was a little redundant because you gave the information here already, and then you gave it again. So you could either cut this panel or you could have cut
So
this
hold
here.
on,
These four sequences here.
So you mean the four between the guys, not the guys up top, right? Between the
Yeah.
motel owner.
These four,
Okay.
yeah, these four panels here, and then these two top here, because then this right here, when they get the call, could have worked in this page at the end of this page.
Gotcha. Now the only part I see, I would have to ask you guys how I mean, we could do it later on as well, but am I cut out now? Okay, sweet. It paused for a second. I thought my internet was like, son of a bitch. There is one line of dialogue that is used from the 4 in the next issue.
Okay.
So I mean, offline, I guess I could talk to you guys about that. Just so I'm not giving
Yeah.
anything away, but I'd love to hear like where
Sure.
what angle I should take in order to keep something in. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we can
And
do
then that one panel though, was that another in terms of looking wonky?
His face, you mean? The guy?
No, the scroll back to
down or up.
To the motel where we were just talking about where
the motel.
it could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that panel right there.
This right here.
Yeah, just the
Oh, yeah.
way that it was drawn, like with his hand and like almost looked like stick figure. I mean, not stick figures, but
well, the only thing you got to remember is bad eyesight, and that panel is actually this big in reality. So when you're drawing, you're drawing it sort of small, so I couldn't see as well.
Right.
But yeah,
I mean, now knowing what it is, obviously,
it's funny. It's funny you say
draw,
that.
You draw traditional, right?
I do. So it's funny you say. Okay. So no zooming in with my computer and all that fun shit.
Right.
Okay.
If you have my Twitter, there's something that I just put out not that long ago, and it's like small stuff like this. And intentionally, I was like, dude, get this shit tight, dude. So you'll see like there's smaller figures, even smaller than this, that are pretty detailed on the stuff. But no, you're right, dude. Yeah, it's that hand is super wonky,
yeah,
you know?
it's like
no, I know. And that slipped through actually. That actually is not one of those things I wanted to keep to show how I progressed. That actually slipped through. So good eyes.
But I want to ask you,
yeah,
what is the main story of this book. Like I mentioned earlier, which was like I don't really know who the main character is. Julia says that it's like this, like the story is
The
the main
story is,
character.
I would
Okay.
say, and this isn't like a writing influence, but it definitely is an influence. Final Fantasy VII may be told through Vincent's eyes. I don't know if you guys ever played Final Fantasy VII, if you guys remember that game, but there was like
No, I never
there
played
was it just the story was around before this. I mean, this is something I've been working on since I was a kid. But if I could sum it up, it's the whole. There's so many characters. I think as soon as you get to issue 6, everybody's been introduced at that point in time. So I'm up to 5 right now. 6 is coming up. But it's the story is, you know what I mean? It's a wide cast of characters, and I'm hoping to pull it off, you know. And I think, like my fiance says, she's like, if they just read the whole thing at once, then you could see where everything's going. That doesn't mean the stuff that you guys mentioned isn't something that's valid. You know, it's editorial stuff. But it's definitely it's the world. It's not just Murphy. It's not just Mo. It's not just Sarah. It's not just Hellbound and all these guys. It's a pretty big story. I'm hoping I can pull it off. So hopefully before I put anything else to pen and paper,
I got that. I got that for sure. Because I'm a big fan of the movie Traffic.
Okay, yeah.
So that's kind of the same idea where the city is the main character, and all the little sub stories in the city is what puts it all together. And so I felt that's what I got when I read it. I was like, okay, I get it. It's because you have 4 different things going on at once. You have the government people, you have Murphy, you have the woman who can see the dead bodies, and you have the samurai at the end. Is he the 3 crows? Is that
yes, he is. He's
okay. That's what I figured.
He's with those guys. Yeah, there's
And I have one now that I remember. I did have a few editorial things.
Yes.
So I did love the idea of the 3 crows, and I did like the whole like, hey, are you gonna come in and help me here? What's going on here? And it would have been really cool if, because I see the crows here flying in front of these soldiers are about to get the girls. And it would have been really cool if you had drawn the crows like merging into one.
Sorry, they're not. It's not him. They're with him.
Oh, okay. So they're like his pets, or like his.
There is, because there's actually there's. Well, yeah. So there's accomplices. Sounds exactly. There's a sneak preview in this PDF I think I sent that has.
Yes, I did at the end. Yes.
Yeah. So so that's essentially exactly. So they're with him, and I get into and their characters as well, but I get into what they are for him and essentially
okay, all right,
how he works with all that stuff.
I see. I had I thought it was that he was like the crows and he became one and became
it's a good idea,
samurai.
I like that idea.
Yeah. And also it would have been also cool if or not cool, I shouldn't say, but worked for me was the double page. Did I miss it? Is it?
No, it's up a little bit more.
Okay. The double page spread where he blocks all the bullets. It would have worked really. It would have been a lot more effective if maybe you could have done like that art trick where you draw all the arms like in different positions, blocking all like the bullets like with ease. Kind of like the way Neo, like the way it looked with the first Matrix movie when Neo was like,
totally.
The I guess the hands or whatever, the vibration of the hands. That would have been effective here in this double page. This is a double page spread, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It is. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. You always want to go dynamic. Think when you do dynamic shots. I always tell the artists that I worked with, just think dynamic and Kirby, Jack Kirby. You know, when you dedicate 2 pages, it's got to be something like fantastical, where like you gave it your all. And I'm not saying you didn't give your all here, because you did. The detail is fantastic in this 2-page spread. But I thought if he would have just showcased more of it, the kind of power this character has.
I was trying to go a little less. My whole thing with and look, it might not be for everybody. My whole thing with modern comics is where everything is too. Here's a cool pose. Here's this and that. It's almost too much for me. Where and look, I might not be selling books that way, but I'm more of like a storyteller with just panel to panel progression. Do you know what I mean? Like I think which
for sure.
And what you're saying is not wrong, and it's not something I'd like to aspire to, but I think not enough people actually try to crack the storytelling part before they get to the pretty picture part, because that doesn't do anything for me. Like seeing a book with just a bunch of pretty pictures. Do you know what I mean? Like with and I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying,
I
like, I think at this point in time in the beginning of the book, for me, it was more important to actually catch the storytelling aspect of stuff, you know, where you can tell what's going on, but I'm not putting as much brain power into the fantastical shit that I should be and probably will be reaching later on. But I think my mindset at that point was maybe not going that route and just doing more storytelling stuff, but it's not paying off as well. So I think what you're saying is a little bit more interesting to make the thing flow a little better, with just twisting shit. You know what I mean? Just doing something a little bit different, as not just thinking straight storytelling, but also thinking of the aspect of somebody who likes the dynamic stuff. You know what I mean? Where I still wouldn't. So I see what you're saying. Just
there's got to be
twist it a little bit. Do something.
There's got to be a little balance too, because you're at 33 pages here, so you already established how you mastered the sequential storytelling part, because I was able to follow it nicely. I mean, there's a few things here and there, the dialogue that could have been a little tighter, but it still worked because he still provided the information needed for the reader to keep the story, to stay in engaged in the story. But at this point, it would have been like, whoa, that's the moment you want in the end, close to the end of your first book, so that way the reader can be like, oh shit, this is amazing, because you.
And I think you're right. I think if I had more of the mind frame to still, look, you want to be a storyteller, that's great, but still make it dynamic.
Yeah,
something could have happened. Like, I think even seeing it now, like just from that old perspective of what you're saying, is just even tilt the character maybe towards the camera a little more. Do you know what I mean? Where out of side, you just tilt at the camera, then the arms are breaking the panels, and it's coming over here.
Exactly.
And doing some weird stuff. So,
Exactly. There you go.
100%.
There you go.
100%.
That would have been great.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm giving you the mindset that I was in, where I'm actually starting to pull out of that now as I get further and further into my craft.
This was drawn what, a year ago?
No, actually longer than that. This was drawn probably about 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay, I gotcha. Then. All right. Yeah. Well, it still looks great. Damn.
I appreciate it.
It looks like you just drew it like a year ago.
I appreciate it. There's definitely stuff that, like, when I look at it, I'm like, but I also like it as a time capsule. But when you're talking about it as a selling point, you're right. You know what I mean? You gotta bump that stuff, bump them numbers up or whatever that.
All right. Sorry, Kyle. You have any more questions or concerns?
I mean, I was just wondering, like, why, like, with some of the main characters, like the government guys and Murphy and them, which might get explained later on in other issues, but like, what's their motivation, or like, why should we care to see them?
Meaning what? Like in what sense you mean?
I mean, like, why are we invested in these characters?
I hope you get invested as the story goes on. That's all I can say. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's I think one of the things that's missing from modern comics is the story all contained in one issue. We were talking earlier, like, and I love that. I think that's great. Unfortunately for my story, it's just I don't have the monster of the week set up yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is some of that later on, but there's so much to set up because it really is a huge world. The only thing I could say is keep an eye on issue 2, 3, and 4. I think as it goes on, you start to see who these characters are. But I see what you're saying from what's
like,
the
I mean,
like book?
Like, taking the girl Mo, for instance, addressing, at least to my eyes, why or how she is able to see these dead people, and like, why is she connected? I think in the building up of everything, in my personal opinion, maybe explaining one of those things so that way we can have a point of reference could have been a little bit better. Like, maybe we know the government guys, or at least what some of their motivations are.
I think the one cool thing is you're asking a lot of questions, is what I sort of want. Do you know what I mean? Where I know what you mean but I think in my frame of storytelling, or at least what I enjoy, is not being spoon-fed everything right away. I like to have that little bit of mystery, what's going on. And what you're saying is it might be too vague, which I appreciate. It's a balancing act I'm still trying to figure out. So hearing this from you makes me at least not second guess, but think about how I go forward moving with each issue. So this is good stuff.
Okay.
I'm trying to say where I'm coming from, but I understand where I
Yeah.
might not be pulling off what I'm coming from. You know what I mean?
Another
Like,
another thing that confused me was where this was.
Right.
I
Yeah.
didn't like there was only a few times where it said that it was in Florida,
mhm.
but it took me going back and really trying to find where it was. I didn't know if this was like a big town, big small city, like with the PD, like are these like Hicks sort of cops sort of thing?
Well, I mean,
Um,
I think doesn't that sort of set it up with when it's talking about the police, how they're going out of business in a small town. All the houses are being sold. Everybody's moving out of town. I tried that, which is to your point. Did I make
yeah.
it evident enough? Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, at
she's
least from
talking
when
about
I
that.
read through it, I
Mhm.
didn't pick on up that much.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's referring to, like, for instance, the when we get introduced to Murphy
hmm
and the crows are eating the corpse in the street,
hmm
and it would have been a little helpful to have just a little blurb right there. Oh, Sarasota, Florida. That's it.
Right.
So
Right.
that way the reader can have a point of reference to, oh, we're here. Okay, we're here. So and then
Right.
it's just a little quick little narration thing that you could have been added. Also with the government building, maybe
mhm,
you could just easily put something like unknown area or unknown location. That would have
Right.
been like, oh, okay, all right, what's going on here? Like,
Right.
this is pretty cool.
Right. To know where the to put
Yeah,
the state of the that's
yeah,
yeah. It's,
because considering the fact that you have a lot going on,
mhm,
you eventually that's gonna eventually converge
Right.
and be paid off down the line. It's always best to let the reader know where you're at, so that
Right.
way they know they could follow it, because there's since there's four things going on at once. For the reader, it could be like, wait, where are we again? Wait,
Mhm.
what is this place? Like, I don't like, they could get lost, I
No,
guess, is what
yeah,
I'm trying to say.
that's a good idea. Yeah, my whole idea is to put this in a collected thing. So thank you for the free
Right.
editorial,
Yeah.
boys. So when it
Yeah, no,
comes time,
absolutely,
100%.
absolutely. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to do for this channel, is to do
I'm
that.
I'm fixing
And
those wonky ass
and just
hands
to
too.
reiterate, like, that it's the fact that you write and draw,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's impressive,
Oh, I appreciate
because
it.
that's hard to do. I mean, from all the artists, writers that I've met over the years, they all tell me like it's tough, but once you kind of master both, it gets a little easier with time.
Mhm.
But it is tough, kind of like, what do you spend the most time on? Writing,
It's crazy.
drawing, and becomes like a tug of war, internal tug of war of
Oh
sorts.
yeah, for sure. And a lot of the times when I'm drawing, or I'll write the premise for the issue out first, and then I sort of do like the Marvel way sometimes, and then
Ah,
sometimes I'll just script out the whole thing, which it's way easier, to script it out and know where you're going, because you can always go back in and edit,
right. Yeah,
what they're
exactly.
saying and whatnot. But yeah, no, it definitely is a balancing act, especially that I'm doing all of it now. It's just it's if I had hair, I'd probably be bald again, but no, yeah, but it's fun though, dude. Like, even the roughest days of writing it, or doing,
Yeah,
it's a payoff, man. It's fun to live in
absolutely.
your own world and do your own thing. So, but yeah, no, it's this is what I wanted to hear. This is exactly what I want to know going forward. Because look, my second book is coming out, and it's but book three still has time to because it's penciled and inked. I have four issues, two issues totally done. So the first issue, the second issue. Second issue will be launching soon. My prints have been screwed up. I just got my prints back in today.
Yeah, that's a bummer, man. That's a bummer that
I'm
happened.
super bummed, dude. Yeah,
Yeah,
it sucks because I told everybody I'd get it to them by the
yeah,
31st, which
yeah.
I'm still faster than some
But
people that are putting books out.
you're like one of the only ones that
So
has the fastest turnaround when it
I'm
comes to
trying.
crowdfunding.
I'm trying, dude. I just want to get this book out there, and I want to get it. To Kyle's point, I want to get as much out there as I can, to where you're like, okay, I
Right.
see what these characters are about. Because
Right.
that's another thing to Kyle's point is, when you're doing a book like this, if you're not putting a book out, I'm trying to put out four a year, is what I want to do.
Mhm.
And I think if I do any less than that, who's going to give a shit, and who's going to remember,
Right.
what the
Yeah.
characters are
Yeah.
doing. If it
Mhm.
was a self-contained story, great. But I'm trying to, juggle a bunch of different things and make people care about these guys. So I have to get it out as fast as possible, while it's still in people's minds. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's crazy.
Yeah, I think that was just the major thing that I had with it was that a lot of these things, like you said, there were a lot of setup and stuff that will be answered in the next book. But I don't have the next book. So
Exactly.
I can't say
Exactly. No,
whether
yeah.
or not it works for me because I don't know the full picture.
Which is what I wanted to hear too. Do you know what I mean? Because then
Yeah.
I know moving forward, if you're not going to get the third book for at least a couple of months, I need to know what I need to put in that thing to make it so you give a shit about getting it in a month or
Right.
two. You know what I mean? So no,
Yeah.
this is what I want to hear, dudes. This is I appreciate this stuff. You know, as long as you guys aren't calling me a bald asshole. Where
No,
I can't.
Dude,
I'm
you know,
scared. I'm scared.
I was a little scared when I first saw that tweet. It was like the hot seat. I'm like, what? Dare you? I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? Are we fighting?
Yeah,
here?
yeah. No,
No,
I
but
was
you
like, oh no, I
square
didn't
up.
mean it like that.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what it is? You're smart though. That's how you get people to watch shit, dude. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah, no, absolutely,
that's the whole
absolutely.
thing, dude. You know,
And then when you sent me that message, I was like, oh yeah, it did come off like that.
I was
Damn
like, what am I walking into, dude? I was like, holy shit. There's a package that showed up from Amazon. I'm supposed to hook it up to my seat. I'm like, what is this? This is from a Lucid comic? Okay. Zap. Fucking yeah. No, it's awesome, dude. This is I can't thank you guys enough for being honest about shit, you know, and everything you've said is something that I'm actually going to take into consideration when I put out the second book.
and thank you for agreeing to come on.
No, 100%, dude.
You know,
Yeah,
because
this is
I for the most part, creatives, you know, are thin-skinned for the most part. And
well, it's your baby. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
Even when Kyle's or you guys are saying stuff, it doesn't hurt me, but it's like, oh fuck, dude, my kid is a little bit ugly, but it's not a big deal. I have money for you know plastic surgery. I'm gonna get this kid fixed up. I hope my daughter doesn't hear. You're beautiful, baby. She's sleeping, but yeah, you know, it's one of those things. You have to hear it, dude. If you want to get better, you have to hear that shit.
Absolutely,
and if you give
100%.
it to a friend. Your friend's gonna tell you it's great. They're not gonna read it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. So, go ahead.
Yeah, you should have heard what I said about get a dragon.
Dude,
oh yeah, that was in person. It was face to face.
Well, I'm saying offline, dude. Let's talk, dude. Let it rip. Yeah, no, 100%. You know, but you know, yeah, no, you know, it's one of those things where you know you want to hear. I want to hear that shit. I've been begging to hear. You know, something other than it's good. You know, I want to hear what's wrong. I want to hear what I can fix, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not the worst when you just hear like,
yeah,
oh, it's okay.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
then you can't.
What's that mean? What does that mean?
Funny.
Yeah. Well, and that's the reason why we take it from both our perspectives of me as just the fresh eyes. Yeah.
Oh, did we lose you? Did we lose you? Oh, there you are. There you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe
lose him again.
Possibly.
Looks like we did.
Oh, man. Dude, am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Ridiculous. 250 MPS or whatever the hell it is for your internet, and it's going. I just don't get this shit, dude. It's insane.
So, what were you saying? What were you saying?
Anyway, I was just saying, the way that we tackle these books, of like me as the fresh eyes, and seeing everything for the first time, and then him as the experienced writer looking at it from his perspective. Hopefully, that can give you at least a little bit of a round,
100%
perspective of what your book is about.
100%. There's stuff that I'll be doing editorially to issue 1 when I do my my big print. You know what I mean? Where it's collected. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, my plan is to do this issue, the second issue, and then maybe do like a trade of 2 chapter issues where you get the beginning and the end of like a little thing. So I'm definitely gonna edit and fix some stuff up. Artistically, I could probably fix some things. I can't fix the double page spread. It's a lot.
Right.
But that wonky ass hand I can fix, and those heads and shit. And most importantly, I can probably do some editorial stuff as well with the panels where it'll flow a little bit better, because I've edited myself, where you take a bunch out, but then you're like, fuck, do I need this? And hearing you guys talk about it, I don't need all of it. So no, this is great, dude. This is something that I think when I print this thing up again as a collected, it'll shine a little bit better, All due to you guys give me insight, dude. I appreciate it.
That's what we want to hear.
No
that's
problem.
What we want to do. That's what we want to provide. We want to provide indie creators I guess an honest review, a constructive review. So that way you could build up after the constructive review, as opposed to crapping on it. Like, how does that help people? It doesn't help people when you just
it doesn't. It's funny. I had I'll give a quick story. I had an a portfolio review years ago. And John Romita Sr. is the one who got me the review. He was at a table. He's like, get this guy. It was all sweetheart, dude. Great guy. Only for meeting him that one time. Didn't know me from anybody. And got me a review with somebody at Marvel. And, it was a pretty harsh review, which is fine, But then there was an editor that came over who wasn't like anybody knew, and he was just talking mad shit, like just a little too, from somebody who,
a little personal.
Yeah, and like Alex Maleev, Alex Maleev was the guy giving me the review, and he was, pretty harsh, but he gave me great stuff to do. And the other guy came over and just started talking mad shit, and I was like, yeah, I took it with stride. Then I saw him later on in the cafeteria, and he had his leg out, and I just walked by. It's just not a great thing for me to tell. I was definitely, a little bit more. I just bumped the shit out of his leg, and he's like, I said, like, what? We're not doing a review now, asshole. You know what I mean? You should probably know how to talk to somebody before something else can fucking happen. Needless to say, he put his head down and ate his fucking tater tots and didn't say a fucking thing after that. But it's one of those things where I think respect is needed when you're talking to somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, Alex Maleev can tell me I suck, but who the fuck is this one dude who I doubt he works for Marvel or anybody anymore. But
it was probably like the friend of the editor, probably.
Who knows, man? I just know that he was saying some shit, and I was like, oh, dude, like, all right, man, all right.
So what's your favorite part of the book? Come on, Oli. Come on.
I saw that. I instantly laughed.
Is that what's that?
It's the running joke with Eric July. The
gotcha.
whole like, what's your favorite part of Ice? I mean, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oli, I'll tell you what my favorite part is.
That was What, have you guys read it? I haven't read it.
Oh no, I haven't read Ice. No, I haven't.
I'm gonna try to get it so that we can do a review on it.
I'd be interested to see what it's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just haven't had a chance to get the book, and
you guys are busy.
it just it's one of those things where I have nothing against the guy. But when he came out with his book and I heard the premise, I was like, well, it's not for me. It's not really intriguing. It's not intriguing for me.
And there's nothing wrong with
this
that.
was Tome of Reckoning was intriguing for me because I love urban horror. I love the whole street level monster thing. And so that's what hooked me was that.
This thing it gets big, it gets off the fucking rails too later on, which is what I love about it.
It's great, even better,
and story wise. But yeah, it's there's a lot of indie comic books out there that I'd love to get it, to check out on to the point as well as price point, man. It's
dude, that's huge.
It is, and
that's what we mentioned in the main review.
One of the things with my internet probably went out with the price point. What did you guys say about the price? Is my internet out now?
You're getting wonky again, but what was that?
Sorry, dude. I was saying, so you got the point in this book then too, right? Oh my god,
you broke up again. Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I want to call Cox tomorrow and tell them they suck themselves because this is the worst internet I think I've ever had in my entire life, dude. Seriously. No, I was saying, did you guys mention price point for this book?
No, we didn't.
No. I just mentioned that. Just mentioned that I read it as if I bought it.
Yeah.
See, so for my thing is like I wanted to put this thing out as cheaply, but then somebody's like nobody's going to get it, and then at the same point you're like, well, I'm fundraising, so I'm trying to make it a little more expensive so I can get prints and shit. But I'd love to have it to the point where I could just make this affordable. And I think when I get like an actual compiled book, it's going to be cheaper to print and cheaper for purchase, because I think that's an issue, dude. Who the fuck wants to go? Pardon my French. Sorry. Who wants to go and spend $6 or $5 on a book that's 22 pages long? You know what I mean?
Not many people nowadays.
No, dude. No. Back in the day when you were talking, we were kids when we were getting these books. We were spending $1.99. You know what I mean? $2. Yep. And great stories, dude. You know what I mean?
Stories too.
Yeah, it's and I'm not saying there's not great stories today. I'm just saying the price point just not there, dude. $5 or $6.
Very accessible for new readers because $2. What's $2 when you gotta for me, my allowance was $20 per week for chores. I had to do chores around the house, and then I would get $20. And just imagine a 14, 15-year-old kid with $20, and I go to the comic shop, and the issues were $2.
Yeah.
Go home with a stack, come home with a stack of books.
And that's even if you were just getting the new ones. You can go to the before we had the penny bin or the 10-cent bins, whatever the hell they are.
Right? Now,
dude, it's insane.
Now, currently, me going to the comic book store, I buy 5 books. It's $30.
Oh man. Damn. Woo! My goodness.
Oh, man.
So Kyle, do you have any other? We're losing you, but we'll keep it going.
Dude, insane. Sorry, boys.
Do you have any other
Dionysus?
Dionysus. Thank you.
Well, it's funny. So Dionysus is the English translation, and then Dionysius is the Greek one. So yeah, both of you guys are right. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh
cool.
well, well
So
that's
then
a very
I'll keep
answer.
my Dionysius then. How about that? Kyle, do you have any other questions for our guest here?
Oh
tonight?
man.
No, he answered most of
Believe
them
it,
that
it's
I was going for. Like we said, like if you want to go over later privately some of the other like nitpicky stuff that I saw,
yeah, dude, 100%.
I mean, didn't but
100%.
overall, I'd say uh, it was very interesting. Not everything worked for me, but that's also just because the story's not completely finished for the second
Right.
issue. Um, but there were scenes and stuff that were great, like especially like this scene where they're fighting with the armored guys. That was cool. The beginning scene, which Julius talked about with Murphy in the car with them, I like that scene.
Yeah. Great
So there were
sequence, yeah.
definitely scenes that I enjoyed.
Awesome,
But yeah,
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 I'd love to chat
I
to you. Thank
described
you.
it. I described it to Kyle like this when after I read, because I remember like I told you in the DM, I read it the first time for pleasure, and the second time I read it with the critical eye.
Mhm.
What I got from it was from far away, I could see like a sculpture that looks chiseled and ready, but then when you get closer to it, there's some parts here that you could have just chiseled a little bit more to make it a little tighter.
That's cool.
That's kind of how I viewed it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's it gives me hope to actually edit and do some extra stuff before I go to my big print. So yeah, thank you. And considering the 2 prints I've got have been screwed up, I might be able to edit it and get it reprinted again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
So
Yeah,
we'll
I mean,
see, dude.
there's always a chance to fix things before you get them to the hands of readers.
Totally.
All right, Kyle. Well, the moment of truth. Is it worth the pickup?
I would say wait until the second issue. Because like I'm gonna give my honest take that as a standalone book, it did not work for me. Now, when I read the second issue, that could change.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I think it's worth the pickup. It's a great starter to what's going to eventually it's going to be an epic story, because you have multiple things going on, and that's again, that's tough to do, by the way. It's not easy to take on little sub stories and keep them intact in one whole story,
Right.
and finding a way to weave them together and keep the interest of the reader as well. Because like Kyle was saying, it's hard to connect with a character, because when we read stories, we want to connect with characters.
Yeah.
So maybe in the upcoming issues that you're working on, you could find little, it doesn't take much, really. It just takes maybe a line or two or a moment or two to have to get a connection with the reader,
a bond.
Yeah, a bond that could solidify it right away with the dedication of just one page or even a few panels, depending on the scenario. But other than that, I think it's worth it. You have something epic brewing up here. I can't wait to see the next issues, because like I was telling Kyle earlier today, I was like, I was reading it and I didn't see the big wolf that I saw him post, and I was like, oh, that means it's gonna be in the second or third issue. Okay, cool.
Thanks.
There's gonna be something cool.
See, I don't know that.
Right.
I'm not in the Twitter and stuff,
Right.
so I just
what
go off
is
of what I see.
So what are you at, Kyle? You're on.
I just have Instagram. That's
okay, I'm on Instagram as well, so I'll hit you up. It's at Comic Book Kyle.
Yeah, that's
cool.
my Instagram
Sweet, man.
handle right there.
Nice.
So yeah, Tome of Reckoning. I think it's worth the pickup. It's worth the pickup for me. Kyle says wait for the second issue.
Wait till the second issue.
Wait till the second issue, and then see if it picks up, and which I'm confident that it will. But that's it, guys. That's pretty much the show. So if you guys like the show, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We will review more indie books in the live streams, and also on top of that, we're still gonna record. Is it worth the pickup sub episodes where Kyle reviews mainstream books, DC and Marvel books. Nice. So we're gonna have the best of both worlds, because we're comic book fans, we're comic book readers. We like to read any and all books. We give them all the same chances, because how else can the industry survive if we don't read books? We just love comics. So every Friday we go live, and we will discuss any the hot topic issues of the day for the first half of the show. In the second half, we will dedicate the same thing here. If you are okay with joining us the way Dionysius here did tonight and reviewed the book in person, then hey, come on. We'll invite you in. We'll break it down for you page by page, see what works, see what didn't work. And if you're okay with that, hit me up. Hit me up on the DMs, message me, whatever the case. What's up?
I was going to say, if you're a writer or an artist out there and don't want to do this, you're doing yourself a disservice. You know what I mean? Just like these guys taking their time out to actually read somebody else's stuff is, and even, and look, dude, even in pledging to the book is, thank you so much. Just for both of you guys doing this. I really appreciate it, dude. Big time.
Yeah, no problem.
You're welcome, man. It's our pleasure.
People should take advantage
We're
of
just
this.
enjoying comics. We're just
yeah,
enjoying
yeah,
comics.
exactly.
Which is what it's about, right, dude? Yeah, which is
Yeah.
what it's about. So I think it's a cool channel, and it's I think I could see this growing pretty quickly, man. You guys have a good rapport. You guys have a good chemistry together, dude. So yeah, I like what you guys are doing, man. I already subscribed on both of my channels. I think everybody else should too. So
That's
there you
awesome.
go. And
Well,
where can we
thank you
find
so
you on
much.
YouTube?
yeah.
Dionysius. Did we lose him?
No, I'm here.
I think
Oh, okay. Where can we find you?
I thought
Where
I
can we
lost you
find
guys,
on
dude.
YouTube?
So
What's
funny,
your
dude.
YouTube channel?
Oh, my YouTube channel is what is it? The Tome of Reckoning, I think. I'm not really on there that much. I probably should be a YouTuber, but or you know what I mean, try to do it, but
Yeah, right.
Tome of Reckoning. So and then my Instagram is DJA Dionysus. And that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll find you. We'll find
Definitely.
Ollie, we are going to do Cryptonals. You could bet your bottom dollar that we are. He's going to
And
also
we're gonna
review
do
Ghetto Dragon. He's
Yeah.
going to review Ghetto Dragon as well. So there's that to look forward to. But again, every Friday night we're going live. We're going to talk about the topic at hand and then review an indie book, be it crowdfunded or something that he found in the shop. And if the creator or writer or the artist wants to be in the proverbial hot seat, then hey, you're more than welcome to come along if you can take constructive criticism. And again, we do it to construct up, not to deconstruct, not to put, not to tear you down, but to build you up. That's our goal for this show. So, Kyle, is there anything else you would like to add before we call it a night?
No, I'm just and read some comic books. Have some fun. Try not to take everything too seriously.
Right.
Just
Dionysius,
live
would
your
you
life.
like? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kyle. Finish it.
No, I'm done.
Dionysius, you have any last
comics,
parting words?
Read comics. Keep an eye on these guys. Keep an eye on Lucid Comics. All his books that he has coming out. He's got a bunch of stuff. So no, man. Just thank you for having me on and comics fun. I'm broken up, aren't I? Son of a bitch.
A little bit there.
You're
but we got the gist of it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we'll just keep on.
Right.
Well, I would like to say, if you love the content, if you love the show, subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment on the replay. If you want to join us live every Friday, and we're always going to be here Friday to discuss and have fun, and have a good time. So, with that said, guys, you have a great weekend. You take care of yourselves, read awesome comics, enjoy life, because life's too short to be fucking mad all the time. So, good night, guys. We'll see you next Friday. Where we review. We won't let you know what we're going to review yet until the middle of the week. But until then, you guys have a good one. Peace.
Bye, guys.
See ya.